Also, the nurses admitted that your child had high body temperature, cough, chills, convulsion, like the previous day.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But he won't even look into my. He won't even. I'm talking to me, and he was walking off. So he didn't even see what is in the folder. I was pleading with him to interpret what they've written because I've seen 12 hours something. I don't know what it means. He won't even stand. He said he's going to church. I should wait for him if I can. I said, I'm coming away from Accra. Then he asked me, do I know the time he left the hospital? I said, no, but I'm pleading. He should look into my folder and tell me something. If I have to wait or will be on admission, then I know what to do. He won't even say, he said he's going to church. So I was there in the blue pickup, the hospital pickup, picked him and they drove off. I was there and the pickup came back. So I went to the nurses and told them that I'm going. Then they said, okay, because they saw that I was annoyed. Then I said, if I like, I should go to the OPD. Then I said, if my case was an OPD issue, you should have sent me there since 2. Why did I wait all this while and you are now telling me I should go to OPD and join the queue over there, that I'm going to Accra? So I took my child and we came back to Accra, to Kaneshie Polyclinic. As we were there was a child that was brought. Her temperature was 42 point something. As at the time I was leaving the hospital, the mother was still giving her a cold bath. And I even went to tell the mother, Ebeye. Then I left.
So at what point did you leave the Aguna Swedru Government Hospital to Accra?
The gentleman who accompanied me to the hospital said he knew a nurse at Aguna Nyakrum. So we were going there. When he called, the nurse was also on her way to church. Or is it coming back from church or something of that sort? So she looked at it and said, oh, she's been given an injection that the interval is 12 hours before the next is 3 times that before the next one will be given. Then I said, okay, if that be the case, as for Kaneshie Polyclinic, I work close to them. I know 24 hours there's a doctor. Every time there's a doctor. Midnight, if you go there, there's a doctor. So I'll prefer going there, driving straight to that place, rather than stopping anywhere for them to say it's Sunday, there's no doctor and stuff. That was why I drove to Kaneshie Polyclinic. And we came there. When we came, the night doctor has reported. So after seeing my daughter, directed us to go to the ward for injection. And then he said he will want to see the child the next morning before he closed. So the next morning, that was Monday, when we went there, the doctor was waiting for us. We got there.
This was at the Kaneshie Polyclinic.
The doctor was waiting for us. We got there around 5:45. We were supposed to take the injection at 5:30, but I drove all the way from East Legon. So I think the time, I couldn't make the 5:30 time. So he was there, he examined her and said, okay, it looks like the temperature is a little bit okay, so we should go for the next injection. Then he gave us prescription for drugs. So that was what happened. It's not like I want the doctor to be sacked or something. But what keeps on going on through my mind, when I sit and I remember everything that happened, I'm like, okay, so if my child had passed away, they would just write, she died out of, is it natural causes or whatever. But they will never mean it anywhere to say, also because the doctor refused to
attend to her and was going to church.
So I'm asking myself, how many children have gone through this and have passed away? And in their folders, they've written, died of natural causes or malaria or convulsion, without the other side being known.
So you heard the mother's account of what happened. Pretty sad story. Well, we've tried to get in touch with the management of the Aguna Swedru Government Hospital for their response on the story. We have not been able to reach them. All efforts have proven futile for now, but we'll try and bring you their side of the story as well, so we get to understand why a doctor will leave his post just because he needs to go to church while taking care of this child at a point of need. I just want to go for a break. When we'll come back, we will do some politics and with some special focus on the CPP. It's been a very busy day for them. The National Youth Organizer says he will not leave his post until he receives a letter from management. We'll bring you details of that, plus more from the camp of the CPP after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now, there is some good news to share with you because government has announced some subsidies on electricity tariffs for customers. The subsidies would benefit both residential and non-residential customers. At a press conference to announce the new relief, the Director of Customer Services, Dan Lajiman, said this was done after broad consultations. Now, we'll bring you details of that news conference in just a moment, but in an interview with Joy News, the tariff expert at the ECG, Ibn Zabedin, said the tariffs would not in any way affect the finances of the company.
You can't put a number to, or an average number to it. What we say is that if you are 0 units, there is a gain for you. If you are 50 units, there is a gain. If you are 100 units, there is a gain. So that's why we are guiding customers with a reckoner. Now the reckoner will come to explain, for example, will calculate each unit of consumption, what it was before and then what it is now.
So would you say that the non-residential areas would be, as in for the industries, would have more subsidies to enjoy as compared to the residents?
No. What it is that it was apportioned pro rata to these customers. So industry has its share, residential customers also have their share. Remember, in terms of population, residential customers are more. So that's how it's prorated.
Now, the statement that was read to us, which came from government, said that this decision was arrived at after extensive consultations with all the stakeholders. And I want to find out from you, how sustainable is this?
Okay, so the word extensive in there meant that they have also determined how it will be paid for. And that brings in the sustainability part. If you give a subsidy and you don't know how it will be paid for, that's the question. But really, if the subsidy comes and then there is a clear mechanism to pay for it, then really sustainability requirements are met.
Are you not worried that over the years people have complained about how subsidies don't help the tariffs and the fact that consumers end up paying the same thing or the real tariffs at the end of the day?
Okay, so you see, sometimes subsidies come through pressure groups and all that. Perhaps once these decisions are being made, the mechanism hasn't been put together to identify how it will be paid for. It will have to go through budgetary mechanisms and all that. But once you identify, for example, I can give a very easy example. If, for example, the gas price of today is to be reduced, it means generation costs have gone down. And it's a way where subsidies can be obtained from. So there are so many ways of doing this. And then the consultation had to brainstorm and then come up with a mechanism for this to be addressed.
What would you say to those who would say that government owes you a lot of money, and instead of giving subsidies to consumers, why won't government pay your debt so that ECG will be efficient for everybody?
Okay, so this subsidy or relief we are talking about, the mechanism doesn't come on the government space. So there are two different type of arrangements that government is dishing it out from its space to support the customer. Now this mechanism is from a sector refinancing arrangements.
Which is where?
We're working towards that, and then we'll get you the details. I'm not empowered to speak on that today.
That's interesting. That has not been approved yet the implement.
And the clear mechanism or the process is being laid out. Yeah.
There are others who would say that this probably announcement is because the president announced it last month during his Accounting to the People tour that from the 1st of July the stakeholders were going to look at the billing system. What would you say to those who are saying this is some sort of pressure on you to do this, not necessarily because there ought to be something done about this?
So ECG didn't announce this on its own. We said the government of Ghana has given relief. So to begin with, it's not even coming from ECG. But we are the implementing agency, so we're implementing what has been given to the customer. And then we would have even decided to be quiet about it. but the customer goes to vend and he will see the reduction. So it's worth explaining to the customer that this is what has happened, and therefore this press release.
Finally, do we know how long this subsidy system is going to work for?
The relief we are talking
about. The relief, how long is it going to be in the system?
I'm not too sure of that, but what it is that ECG has identified from between now and December, because normally we do planning, annual type of planning. So at the planning year or financial year, we know how much that is involved, and that has been used in the mechanism for its repayments.
You're saying that between now and December, and obviously there is an election on November 7. What would you say to those who say that, well, this could be a ploy by government to get people to think that they are doing something for Ghanaians?
Okay, so...
And using the ECG as a tool to implement it?
Okay, so if you talk about elections and all that, then really we are not talking about ECG operations anymore. I'm looking at the financial year. So from now till the end of the year, how much would that cost me as a business? And that's what I've put out there.
So that's some explanation for you on the new tariffs that have come through, the reduction that has been explained. Well, we can hear more on that announcement that was made by the Director of Customer Service, Dan Lajiman, explaining what this reduction means for those who are residential customers and non-residential. Let's get a breakdown now from Mr. Lajiman.
Government of Ghana relief to ECG customers effective 1st July 2016. The Government of Ghana, after extensive consultation with all stakeholders of the power sector, has provided some reliefs by way of subsidies to all ECG customers. The reliefs have been applied to extend the lifeline rate to all residential customers instead of the previous application to only customers with consumption between 0 to 50 units within a month. Therefore, instead of the rate of 67 Ghana pesos per unit for the 50 units of consumption for all residential customers with consumption more than 50 units, a rate of 34 Ghana pesos per unit shall be applied. In the case of non-residential and industrial customers, some subsidies have been applied to the energy charges to reduce the total bill of such customers. Subsequently, a new reckoner which calculates the customer's total bill given the units consumed has been put on the ECG corporate website, www.ecggh.com, to inform and guide our customers on the application of the new reliefs. The reckoner will be deployed to all our regional and district offices, as well as our customer services centers, to assist ECG customers accordingly. We encourage customers who require further clarification to visit the nearest ECG customer service center for assistance.
So that's the announcement for you. Satisfied? If you're not, let's hear from you. Send us your views and comments on social media. Join us on Facebook. Join us on TV, also on Twitter. Let's hear from you on this announcement made by the ECG. Well, in a related development, the ECG says the current power disruptions we're seeing, the Dumso has come to their attention, and they are monitoring the situation to draw a timetable should it persist. William Boateng is the head of public relations at the ECG.
We've been told that we have some challenges with generation. I don't want to go into details because it is not my area. We are downstream. The upstream, that's where the generation companies are. We've had the last meeting. They are giving us an update on the situation. If it will prolong, definitely we'll talk to authorities and we'll prepare something. But if it is temporal and is and it's just it's transient or it's temporal, it means that we have to hold on and give ourselves some time.
But it seems that it's not the first time it's happening. A lot of the time when there are issues, there seems not to be time.
What is a lot of the time? You know, the load shedding came to an end around December. Then in between December and now we're having some challenges in between. You hear of FSOP, shutdown for maintenance, and so on and so forth. Yes, then we're going to set challenges. Then there will be this gas not flowing. They will go to similar challenges. And we are saying that as we speak now, we have been hinted that we are having similar challenges. And then they should give us some time. If it will prolong, of course, we'll come out with some time. But for now, we are sure it is temporal. So give us some time.
Where prolonging means what?
Oh, where the projection is as if about the next 3 weeks or 1 month, we can draw something out. There's no big deal. We have been doing this this is not the first time we've come out with this.
Beyond this, we know that last week the ECG workers started disconnecting some government institutions, and government came out, gave a directive that they should stop. Are you able to tell us which specific government institutions owe the ECG?
No, I don't have the figures with me as we speak.
But
I don't.
Now,
but we've met them, and we are sure that they're going to carry out the exercise, being mindful of the sensitive institutions.
So as of now, which government institutions that owe you are you thinking?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've told them what to disconnect, what not to disconnect. Thank you very much.
And after power-related issues, we can now talk some politics. And remember, this is your election headquarters. We're live on radio, on TV, and online. Why settle for, the less when you can have the best here on Joy News? Well, it was the country's biggest political party in the 1950s and even won independence for Ghana. That's the CPP. But it appears it's now in tatters. Well, it's not about its dwindling fortunes in each election period, but now the deep cracks emerging within its leadership. Today, the party's leadership have directly taken on its former chair, Samia Nkrumah, accusing her of instigating rebellion against the flag bearer Ivor Greenstreet and the current chair, Professor Edmund Dele. On Thursday, the party suspended its general secretary and national youth organizer for what it describes as gross acts of indiscipline and insubordination. The pair say they were suspended for petitioning charge against the party's position on the president's Ford gift controversy. And those are some youth of the CPP today demonstrating at their party's headquarters. We'll come to that in just a moment. But speaking here on News Desk earlier today, the director of communications for the party, Kadri Abdul Rauf, says the party has picked up intelligence that suggests that the former chair, Samia Nkrumah, is pushing Ernesto Yeboah and Nneɛma Akonsua to revolt against the current leadership after she failed to win the flag bearership race. And we'll bring you that soundbite of Abdul Kadri Rauf in just a moment. But this afternoon, the embattled youth organizer Ernesto Yeboah was at his office at the CPP headquarters to undertake his activities, despite a directive by the party's National Executive Committee to suspend him. He says he will not leave the post. Now, scores of the party's youth gathered at the CPP office to show solidarity. We can speak to Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. He was there for us and spoke to some of them, as well as Mr. Ernesto Yeboah as he got to his office. Good afternoon to you, Joseph.
Good afternoon to you.
First, I just saw some of the CPP youth there chanting and singing. What was that all about?
Well, it was more like a fun-filled occasion, if you could put it so. They were drumming, they were singing. They had gathered, at the headquarters itself, and that's where they knew their drumming and dancing. And so then they heard that Ernesto Yeboah had come around and he was somewhere in the neighborhood. So what they did was to march all the way from the party's headquarters through the streets of Asylum down to a nearby area there to go meet Ernesto there and march him all the way to the party's headquarters. They carried him head high. A lot of them had the party's paraphernalia on them. They were singing and dancing, insisting that they would want him to understand that despite the decision by the party's National Executive Committee to suspend him, they are backing him fully. They are bringing him there, and they were daring anyone who would want to stop him from occupying the office to do so. And so they continued with that drumming and dancing.
Okay, now was this in anticipation of something that was to happen today?
Exactly. We understand that over the weekend, some security persons had actually been deployed to the party headquarters. You would recall that Ernesto Yeboah had declared in media interviews that he isn't leaving despite the directive by the party executives, and he indicated that he would still go to the office regardless of the directive. Over the weekend, you understand, the number of policemen had actually gone around there, were looking around and all of that, and the suspicion is that maybe the national executives of the party were, responsible for that, getting in the police people. So the expectation was that something of that sort was going to happen today, and Ernesto had also indicated he would also be going there today. So the youth said that, well, they were there to march whoever may want to stop Ernesto boot for boot and all of that, except that there wasn't much of a showdown because none of the National Executive Committee members were within the premises as at the time that Ernesto got there. There was absolutely no resistance at all. And we can watch as the youth marched him in, and some of the young people were actually, making it very clear that they were there to bring him in and ensure that he goes about his activities without any hindrance.
Okay, let's see them now.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the solidarity. This is nothing program. We've not even programmed anything. He's not even aware some of us will be here today. He just decided all of a sudden that he will be at the office because the suspension is not recognized. It came just unconstitutional. Yes, it is unconstitutional. It's something that he said he won't accept. And some of us reason with him. We just decided to come over to the party head office, and we heard that he will be at the office. And we appreciate the solidarity being shown. If this were to be organized, I don't think there will be space here to accommodate all of us. Yes. Because he that has the just heart has the majority following. So we appreciate, we hand over to our Commander-in-Chief of the Youth League. He is same time acting Master Ernesto, Commander
The youth of the CPP there addressing journalists today as they made their way to the party headquarters, clearly asking that their leader does not leave the party, stays put in office, even though we've heard from the party leadership make it absolutely clear that he has been suspended pending investigations done by the disciplinary committee of the party. Well, you got a chance to speak to Ernesto Yeboah.
Yes.
What did he tell you?
Exactly. Even before that, he responded to the call that the youth had made. He addressed them as a gathering, and he indicated that as far as he's concerned, the suspension is unconstitutional, it was illegal. He thinks that everyone deserves the right to a fair trial, and to himself and Akronfa, if anyone thinks they had done anything wrong, maybe they should have been brought before a committee or maybe one of the party organs and be heard on this.
Is that not why they are being asked to appear before the disciplinary committee?
So that's even where his concern is, that even with regards to that, they haven't received any official notification indicating that they've been suspended officially and inviting them to the sittings of the disciplinary committee.
Okay, let's hear his response to the youth, and then we'll talk about the interview you had with him, posing these key questions to him.
This attack is not targeted at Ernesto Yeboah and Nneɛma Komfra. This attack is targeted at the Youth League. It is targeted at the men and women of integrity in our country and across the world.
No more nonsense!
The issue of corruption is not a party issue. The issue of corruption is a national issue.
Yes.
Corruption is the reason why the vast majority of the population that are young do not have jobs. Corruption is the reason why our pregnant mothers are administered the floor to carry out their labor in the hospital simply because they did not pay bribe or they could not afford to pay bribe. Corruption is the reason why you have to pay bribe to Goro boys at the National Passport Service or at the driver's license in order to acquire any of these licenses or passports or national documents. Go and ask any taxi driver if they are happy paying bribes to the police. Nobody is happy paying bribes to the police. Nobody is happy paying bribes to anybody. Our traders, our mothers, who leave this country, go elsewhere in order to cut goods and services, bring them into our country in order to make an honest living, are not happy when they pay bribes to custom officers.
No.
So bribery and corruption cannot be a party issue. It is a national issue.
Yes. This nonsense must stop.
The Youth League has clearly demonstrated where it stands on the issue of corruption. We have stated our position in line with the party's ideas, in line with the party's ideology, in line with the party's philosophy, in line with the party's constitution, in line with the party's manifesto. All that we have said is that the issue relating President Mahama and the Ford gift must be investigated.
We have to empower the state institutions to work.
We have instructed in this direction the SRAJ to conduct an independent investigation into this matter.
Thank you very much.
And as far as I am concerned, the Youth League committed no wrong in asking SRAJ to investigate the issue of corruption involving our president, so that a finality could be brought to the matter.
Yes. We want justice.
We should be congratulated.
Yes.
The Youth League should be congratulated. Because we have brought honor and glory to our party. We are the ones who have shown the world that the Convention People's Party is an anti-corruption organization.
The soul of Osagyefo will be happy.
I am still the commander-in-chief of the Youth League.
Powerful. No bagger wire.
Now, let me make the point. That our national constitution says that even if you are a murderer and you were found to have killed somebody, for which reason you should also face the law, you cannot be tried without a hearing.
Precisely.
At least your rights guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution makes the point that you need to be heard before you are sentenced.
Before you kill a fowl, you give it water.
Ask whether Nneɛma Komfra, General Secretary, Ernesto Yeboah, National Youth Organizer, and Commander-in-Chief of the Youth League, was invited. Ask whether any of us were heard by the same committee that arrogated themselves the powers to become a court, a judge in their own court.
Commanders to kill them all.
None of these happened.
Well, he says none of these things happened, but Joseph got the chance to speak to him one-on-one and get an understanding of what has informed his decision today to appear at the party's headquarters, even though the party has made it clear that, look, step aside, let's do some investigation and appear before the disciplinary committee. Briefly, before we hear from him, Joseph, what was his argument in appearing at the headquarters today?
This is the interesting bit. Apart from even him appearing at the headquarters, he went into his office. I had the opportunity to get into his office with him. He sat down. You'd see that in a while. Some of his, members, youth members who work within the youth wing were actually around. They handed over some documents, pretending to work or working, whichever way you want to put it. But the party had indicated that they had left behind the said suspension letter for him. The party's communicating letter had indicated that it was at the party headquarters, and so he would have it when he goes there. Now, he showed us in there. He went through a number of the documents that were handed over to him once he came back following the long weekend. And according to him, it does not involve the said suspension letter. So he's insisting that officially this has not been communicated to him, and so he's not leaving the office. That's the first thing. He insists the suspension is unconstitutional, as indicated in the soundbite, and so he's not going anywhere. And so his position is that going forward, he remains the commander-in-chief of the Youth League, as they call it, as in the National Youth Organizer. And so he's asking the party to close ranks and focus on the upcoming election, which is actually the main thing. You watch me have this interaction with him in the office just around 12:30 thereabouts, when he started work in his office earlier today.
Okay, let's hear from him then.
Okay. So we are here at the headquarters of the Convention People's Party. This is specifically the office of the party's National Youth Organizer. And Ernesto Yeboah is here at the moment, despite the indication that the party has suspended him. Ernesto, first of all, why are you here? The party has indicated since last week, Thursday, that yourself and the party's General Secretary have been suspended.
I think you can see for yourself. We've been here for the past 1 to 2 hours, and I have received no letter. My 2IC is here with me. He's shown me all the letters that I have received that we need to action, and we are dealing with that. I just returned from, a constituency, Ladadi Kotopon, in line with our objective to secure 2 million votes for Ivor Kobna Green Street. So, everything shows that I have not been suspended. They want to portray us as some lawless, group of individuals who do not understand what we are about. They would create the impression as though we have, violated the party's, constitution, when we haven't. They would create the impression as though we are, out there for mischief, and that we are bringing the name of the party into disrepute. But every action that they have taken rather shows that they are the ones that have brought the good name of our party into disrepute.
When you say they, who exactly are you referring to here?
I'm talking about the Central Committee,
including the party's chairman, Professor
Chairman and leader of our party, and all of that, because I've heard him on radio also communicating, saying that we have been suspended. Yet, the Central Committee met, and on the very issue that triggered this whole suspension saga, they did not take a position on it. So up till now, the leadership of the party hasn't come out to tell us what its position is on corruption. The Youth League of the party has come out to say that the party's position is that we're against corruption, and I have read the lines.
Isn't that the defiance they refer to? You, the Youth League, you've taken a position of your own, which the party itself has not approved of, and gone ahead to take an action with regards to that.
But we need to understand. We need to understand that we are all not above the party. We are all subject to the party's constitution. Ernesto Yeboah is subject to the party's constitution. The national chairman and leader of our party is subject to the party's constitution. The Central Committee, the NEC, the Congress are all subject to the party's constitution. Now, we have stated the party's position, which is in our constitution, in the preamble, that we are against corruption. And then we are being punished.
So as we prepare for the 2016 elections, clearly the CPP is trying to get his house in order. The youth leader says that, no, I'm not leaving my post. I'm waiting until I get my official letter. Then I'll leave my position. Other than that, I'm still here. And this is happening at a time when the party should be preparing, galvanizing its roots in preparation for the 2016 presidential and parliamentary elections. That's it for politics today. We'll go for a break. When we come back, there's more to report. The IGP has made it to the Ashanti region, but what's he there for? Is it about the crime rates that we are seeing in that part of the country? We'll bring you details after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV, and we can head to the Ashanti region now, where a lot has been happening today in relation to the crime situation. The Inspector General of Police, John Kodalo, is in the region to help commission a police station, but his visit is coming at a time when parts of the country has been in focus for the high rate of crime. You will recall that there have been some armed robbery cases in the past 1 month, notably the one which involved the killing of a policeman at a hotel, and then the Agric officer as well, who was trailed to his home and shot. We can get more details of what the crime situation has been in the region from Love FM's Erastus Asare Donko joins me now on the line. Good afternoon to you, Erastus.
Good afternoon, Francis.
Right then, so the IGP is in the region, yes, but what kind of job is ahead of him and the kind of challenges that the region is faced with in terms of crime?
Well, if you realize there's been a change in the modus operandi of the criminals in the Ashanti region recently, because previously you will have the invasion of armed robbers in homes, but then you will not have the kind of bravado they are working with currently, and that the fact that many of the cases we are seeing, they shoot to kill. That has been the worry, because previously you would get the armed robbery situations all right, but then the robbers are not quick to pull the trigger. But it looks like now they come to your house, if they chase you inside your room, if you do not give them what they want, or perhaps you try to even run, they shoot. And when you go to places where we've seen many of these robberies, you see bullet holes in door, indicating that if you try to run or you hide behind the door and you wouldn't open it for them to enter, they will certainly shoot through the door, either to kill you or to maim you. That is the general worry. Now, the robbery is restricted to the new side. And then we are also having some areas like on the Nkawie Road, for example, areas where they know that traders fly a lot. There have been highway robberies as well. So we are looking at residential robbery, where people, armed robbers, are invading new sites where there are limited police visibility, limited police presence, and they are invading these homes and they shoot to kill.
And Erastus, that's for the general picture of how things are looking like in the region. But since we've heard of these instances of the Agric officer who was shot and also the policeman shot at the Chemwa, so what's the update there? Do we know whether or not the police have been able to make any headway in arresting those responsible?
Well, what we do know for now is that concerning the Agric officer, 2 suspects were arrested, and when the police were taking them to also identify other accomplices, I learned there was a shootout, and so the police had to, they were caught in a crossfire, and so these 2 suspects were killed, and police believe that they were highly involved in the killing of the Agric officer, the 2. Concerning the police officer's death, I have not heard so far any information on that, but I do know that the regional police command says it has clues and they are tracing them. They have also put some criminals on the wanted list, where they believe that these people are also engaged in some of these robberies that have occurred. Concerning Petit number 1, for example, where we had a lady who was shot dead. And then just close to that area, we also have a woman who is sustaining a leg injury for about a month now, sustaining bullet holes in them. When you go to the Achuma Kokobing, the Kokobing New Site area too, there have been series of robberies. Police say they have clues, they place some people on wanted lists. They believe that these people are perpetrating these crimes. But it has not ended. You still see new cases coming up. And then it goes on to sort of punch holes in the police explanation that this is one group that is perpetrating these crimes. It looks as if we have fresh cases coming up in the course of the day.
Okay, now one thing that comes up strongly, Erastus, is that in view of all the things we've seen in the Ashanti region, specifically in parts of Kumasi, has that raised any fears for many who go about their normal business in the capital?
Exactly. In fact, these days, if you are realizing all the buildings that are coming up, and if you saw what happened at Mampong, where that family was wiped out, 7 of them died in that fire, they locked themselves in with burglar proof. Now, all the buildings that are coming up in those new sites, you see a lot more of these iron fencing themselves in because of these robberies. People are now more scared, more afraid, and then they want to protect themselves more because they've heard of these stories happening in some of these areas. People are now buying wild dogs. People are buying guns to protect themselves. If you go to areas like behind Tech area, you find people, a whole community who have set up a watchdog committee. They've bought guns to protect themselves in the night. So it tells you that there's a level of fear in here. But these are isolated cases in various areas, not limited to the entire region.
All right, thank you, Erastus, for those details from the Ashanti region. You know the IGP is in town on his own tour to assess the security situation in that part of the country. We'll see what kind of solutions he's able to map out with the regional commander as we look at that matter of the region becoming known for a lot of crime-related cases in the past 1 month there in the capital, Kumasi. You're still watching the Pulse on the Joy News channel, Multi-TV, and as I say all the time, your views and comments are welcome on this program. Look for us on social media, on Facebook at Joy News, on Twitter at Joy News on TV. Remember to add the hashtag, the Pulse, to your comments. We will be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. And a lot has been happening today. In fact, if you will recall, sometime last week, there were talks about that bill that was withdrawn and a new one has been filed. I'm talking about the Interception of Postal Packets and Telecommunication Messages Bill, Christian, the spy bill. We know that a new one has been laid. We'll look at the two, compare them, and see what is new in this amended bill that's been brought before Parliament and whether it deals with that contentious matter of the powers given to the National Security Coordinator and how he will intercept a bill at any point. That will be after the break. Plus, we'll bring you some analysis on this Manifest Sarkodie War of Words. It's just a show of lyrical heat, or this is all part of a well-planned brand exposure scheme. We will find out all that after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi-TV. Now, campaigners against the Interception of Postal Packets and Telecommunication Messages Bill say that key aspects of the proposed law remain problematic despite government's decision to amend the controversial portions. You remember that over the weekend, the Deputy Interior Minister, James Agaga, mentioned that under the new bill, the National Security Coordinator is expected to now make written requests for the interception before it can be carried out.
The Committee for the Defense and Interior invited the general public to submit memoranda for its consideration. And that is in line with the standing orders of Parliament. A lot of, stakeholders appeared before the committee, including your good self, to canvass arguments for and against the bill. Now, the committee, after weighing all the submissions made by the various stakeholders, felt that there was the need for us to fine-tune the bill. And that is what we did. We were advised, the sponsors, the ministry. So we've done...
Significantly, tell me 2-3 things that have changed in 1 minute.
Well, Samson, the memorandum has changed. People had issues. They said the memorandum was not informative enough as to why we are seeking to pass this legislation. We thought there was some merit in that argument, and so we have revised the memorandum it's now very extensive. And I mean, if you read the memorandum, you'd understand why it is necessary that we pass this bill into law.
So this will say that it is seeking to consolidate all the other laws scattered abroad.
Absolutely.
So I remember he argued with me on that point.
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me critically, what else has changed?
Yes, you would notice that there was this issue about oral authorization on the part of the
security coordinator.
Yes, we have revised that one too. And so rather than have the coordinator issue oral instructions for interception to be possible, I mean, would now have it in form of written.
But wait, court?
Wait. Let me make the point. Let me finish.
Yes.
Just a minute.
No, so the bill is here. If we had time,
you have it in a written form, and then
you would have it in a written form.
Yes.
Now the circumstances that would warrant that kind of, instruction has been spelled out in the bill.
Okay.
But we're saying that ordinarily the coordinator would have to go to court and for a judge to give a warrant before interception can be done. What used to be oral without the court order has now changed. It will be written, so that
without
at the end of the day, yes, in extreme cases, in extreme cases, yes. Okay. And when you have now done that, you would have to subject the intercepted material to a validation process, at the instance of a judge.
What other supervisory, responsibilities have you provided?
Yes, some issues were raised about the coordinator's role, etc. So we have said that fine, if that is the reason why people have problems with the bill, the coordinator should exercise the powers that are, of course, envisaged under the bill, but then in exercise of those powers, he should be answerable to the Minister for the Interior for purposes of accountability.
Right, so that's what the Deputy Interior Minister James Agaga had to say over the weekend on Newsfall on this new bill that they've presented before Parliament. But does it really cure all the issues that many of the campaigners had to say, well, per the checks we've done, there are still some teething problems that need some ironing out. Raymond Akwa here with us at Joy News joins me in the studio with a comparison of the old and the new bills. Good afternoon to you, Raymond.
Good afternoon.
Quite a tough job you've done picking these two documents and looking at it side by side and doing the comparisons. But what are the key things that you've been able to see as the differences between the two bills?
Okay, so first and foremost, let's look at the memorandum. The Deputy Minister made reference to the memorandum accompanying this particular. In the previous one, the old one, it was only a one-sentence memorandum saying that because of the increasing terror threats in the sub-region and the risk to the nation's security when it comes to African trade, when it comes to drugs and all of the other related ones, we need to put in a law that will put us ahead of the criminals. But this time around, they've gone back to basically bring to you, first and foremost, the fact that your right to privacy is very important, establishing that's a constitutional provisional right. And moving forward to say that it is also true that we need to sometimes take a bit of your rights to make sure that your protection is safeguarded by the state. That is what this law seeks to do. It is not going to abuse your rights. In extreme cases, when the need arises, the law will guarantee security officials who up until now could act without you knowing, but now they have to act according to certain rules and regulations, which you, in the long run, will be privy to, which you may necessarily be given information on, and that's the difference. So one, first, was straightforward like any other bill, but this time around, this one was considerate of the political environment it finds itself. So it first and foremost seeks to argue out every single issue that was raised before, then justifies why it should be a law that will be passed by the Parliament. Okay. So they do a lot of work on the memorandum part. Let's look at the clauses specifically.
Exactly, and that's where my attention is coming to, because for the clauses, I remember there were some ones that were mentioned that raised every eyebrow. The one in relation to the National Security Coordinator and the powers he has in deciding when and how he will intercept our messages and telecommunications.
We're talking about Clause 4 specifically. The Clause 4 mandated the National Security Coordinator to be the one who sanctions all forms of interceptions. In this particular case, in the old law, the National Security Coordinator was supposed to sanction it, then the officer who's supposed to do the interception proceeds to the courts to get the warrant. But in an agency in an urgent situation, in the emergency situations, the national security can, in the old law, orally tell the agent, go and tell the telco to do the interception. But in this particular new one, the only difference here is that it has to be written.
Written by
the
who to
National
whom?
Security Coordinator will then have to write to the official who is demanding the interception. The official holds the letter, takes it to the telecommunication company or any service provider involved, then the person can proceed with the interception, emergency case. The difference here is that it was first oral, now it's written. But the main argument was that we cannot trust people specifically when first they are appointed by the executive of the day to not act in the interest of the executive of the day. The National Security Coordinator is put there by the executive of the day. So we cannot independently trust that when it comes to even dealing with this opposition and all those who are opposite the government's way of thinking, they will not deal with them in a funny way. So why do you let the person be in charge of this particular project? Secondly, why do you then leave the will to decide to him? When in an emergency case, he can still go to court within the minutes required, even in camera, to get this particular warrant from a court. So that has not been addressed by this particular bill.
So that teething question and the demand for it to be removed is still staying in the new bill?
It's still staying there. So now they actually adopted this more. This time around, they are saying that he should write instead of orally asking people to do it. But the most important problem is why should he not go to court? The other problem is why should he even be the one involved in the first place? The National Security Coordinator's responsibilities are stipulated in the Securities and Intelligence Act clearly. It doesn't include in any way an ability to sanction any form of interception. So is this law going to, in and of itself, amend that particular law or be contradictory to that particular law? Or again, is this law going to give effect to that particular law? That is the other argument. Why
That's
would somebody? Yes. Why would somebody who is a state agent, who is mandated to do specific things, now be given a responsibility outside of his mandate when there's not a repeal of the original Establishment Act? So if I'm established by this law, it tells me what I should do. And we are adding on responsibilities without repealing the earlier Establishment Act. So that's the other point that needs to be clarified, which we are. The telcos specifically had an issue. They're saying that we are caught in the middle. We are not the one making the demands. We're also not the one receiving the information. But you insist that we should be the ones, one, making machines available to do the interception and paying for that particular cost. Why should I be the one? Especially when I am not the one making the demand. When I am not the one making the argument of security. I'm not the one making the argument of privacy too. I'm just caught in the business middle. How do I get to pay for this particular process?
Okay, that's for the telcos.
But for the telcos, their issue has not been resolved at all. It's the same within the old one, the same in the new one. Indeed, there's another key issue that's also been raised about who then supervises the work of the National Security Coordinator. In the previous law, the indication was that the National Security Coordinator and any other person doing interception will report to a judge. Then there's one single High Court judge that the Chief Justice will appoint to do the overall supervision. In the new law, that has been scrapped. What's going to happen is that the National Security Coordinator will file his or her reports direct to the minister, who then sends them to Parliament within an interval that the law stipulates. The problem with this particular structure is that the complaint was not that we did not want anybody higher than the National Security Coordinator to vet his work. The complaint was really that until recently, when all other security agencies was put under the Interior Ministry, the Interior Minister was of the same ranking, and even if not lower, than the National Security Coordinator. So how could he now be actually subjecting his will to that of a higher authority in a ministerial form? Again, the minister is a government appointee.
Which means he can direct for just about anything to happen to anyone to demand information.
We are asking an independent arbiter to be the one supervising the activities of the people involved. Then you take it from one government appointee to another government appointee. How do we ensure that you are not going to have the same problem being endorsed, assuming you did my, interception? The information is supposed to be bad and all of that. You are giving it to your superior, who is also in the same government. How am I in opposition supposed to trust this particular system? The other issue, which has not been addressed at all in this particular one, is clearly tell us if you are mandating the interception and can do it ex parte, if you are the same person actually going to supervise the interception, being government, if you will utilize the interception and again tell when the interception is useful or not useful, at what point in time do I come in?
Where you being the one
person whose information
is being accessed without his permission?
At what point in time do I even know that you did it? Hope you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
I don't work with the telcos. I don't control the other side too. The telcos are supposed to tell me. In fact, the person accessing the information until it is relevant must inform me or act on it. But in this case, assuming they access my information for no reason, the guy is keeping his pocket, at what point do I step in? Do I get to know that on this day and on that day, my information was accessed, nothing was wrong with me, so they moved ahead, they listened to my conversation, the entire conversation with my wife was also in their hearing, but they saw we were having a clean conversation. At what point do I get to know? The law is very, very mute on these issues.
Okay, now with these issues you've raised, then it begs the question, for the new one that's been laid before Parliament, will the people have the same opportunity they had with the first one to send in memoranda raising questions about the new bill?
Certainly. I mean, it's starting the process all out again. Actually, it's starting everything afresh. Well, that's what's going to happen today. Every single issue that was up for discussion needs to be started afresh. Indeed, what needs to be done now is wide circulation of this particular law. When it's widely circulated, then there can be major discussions. Like the previous one, we can really get to discussing the detail, and people will submit. And if you look at virtually all the issues that were raised, they were either slightly touched and not resolved, or not touched at all. So there are still theming issues about your right to privacy, which have not been addressed as we speak right now. So I'm sure the conversation will continue, and we'll have more reactions coming from the various state institutions, if indeed they can give us more answers on exactly what's going to happen to this bill. Are we still going to be in the position to say that we would oppose it, they'll bring new ones, or when it goes to Parliament, we'll have a better discussion on the grounds there?
All right, thank you, Raymond, and quite an interesting analysis of the old and new bill. The real issues there that many were raising issues with is still in the new bill, and that will need some interrogation. We'll get to see if we'll get a chance to speak to the chair of the committee that will scrutinize this new bill, the Defense and Interior Committee. We'll get to it sometime later on in the course of this week here on the program. Let's now return to that matter of the court and the Electoral Commission, the register that is being challenged, the list which is supposed to be presented by the other side of the team. Remember last week, Abu Ramadan and his other plaintiff went to court to look at the list given by the EC of the 56,000 persons registered with NHIS cards in the last election. Remember, the court asked for that list. They've seen it themselves. They are also saying that they have some new evidence to provide here. The legal team of the former National Youth Organizer of the PNC, Abu Ramadan, earlier today filed a document detailing the reservations the team has with the documents provided to the court by the Electoral Commission. The court had earlier ordered the EC to submit that list of persons who registered with the NHIS cards. Frank Davis, a member of the legal team for Mr. Ramadan, described the list provided by the EC as, quote, spurious and conjured. The court then ordered that they formally file their reservations today. Abu Ramadan is a plaintiff, but David Asante joins me via Skype. He is with Let My Vote Count Alliance. He's joining us via Skype for more on this particular story. David, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us here on the program. For you as a group, you've had concerns with the list that was presented to the Electoral Commission. Is it your understanding that the numbers that we are looking at of those who registered with the NHIS cards far exceed what the EC provided? And what evidence do you have to show for it?
Thank you very much. Let me say good afternoon to our viewers. Really, I do not think the plaintiffs really have accepted the responsibility and the burden of proving to the whole world how many Ghanaians registered with National Health Insurance card to get their names onto the electoral roll. I do not think that is the responsibility of the plaintiffs. Abu Ramadan is not the one to go around the country to tell who registered with NHIS card. I do not think so. But the content the content of the argument staged and advanced by the plaintiffs, I know on authority, are embedded in a very well-composed document to be presented to the court. I'm sure we have already done so in the last few hours. And I'm sure the real showdown will be in court tomorrow. But the most important thing that we need to put on record is that, one, Electoral Commission, who is on record through their lawyer and the Attorney General, as having told Ghanaians that out of the 14.5 million registrants, majority of them use NHIS cards. It is widespread. It was a readily accessible kind of document one could use to get his or her name onto the electoral roll. Majority, widespread. These are the words. Then you are asked by the court, can you produce it? You said, yes, we can. And the pretrial plaintiffs, they ask, can you produce it? You say, no, we can't. Did you take interest in lying to the Supreme Court of the land because you wanted to avert the possible instruction and order of the court to compile an entirely new register? So you say, we can produce the list. Then you meet the plaintiffs in camera, then you say, it is not possible for us to produce the list because on the registration Form 1A, we did not make provision for a column where one could identify the type of card with which he is going to register to procure a voter's ID card. So, the question is, where did the Electoral Commission of Ghana conjure the 56,000 names, which represent an infinitesimal percentage of 0.79% of the total registrants on the electoral roll? Did they deliberately lie to the court? And will the Supreme Court of the land tolerate such lies?
Okay, David, okay, I get that point there, and I'm sure tomorrow, when the matter is heard in court, the details will be spelled out clearly for us to see the direction in which we're heading with this one. But hold on. There is one more thing that I need to ask you about. It's about the notice you put up on your Facebook page asking individuals who did register with the NHIS cards to help in providing information. How far have you gone with that, and how do you independently verify the information people who will even volunteer to give it provide?
Well, this whole announcement was triggered by the thousands of messages we received on our personal phone lines. Ghanaians wanting to prove to the court that the Electoral Commission is lying. They, out of their own volition, decided to volunteer information to Let My Vote Count Alliance. I am Mr. Daniel Kwatin. I registered at this police station. Please verify for me whether the list the Electoral Commission presented captured my name. So we were inspired by the act of volunteerism and patriotism by some Ghanaians who are interested in building and consolidating our democracy by helping the Let My Vote Count Alliance and the three gentlemen in court to push through a credible register. So we shared on our page. If you are a Ghanaian and you indeed registered with NHIS card, supply us your name details and let's run you through the list the EC presented. The result is bizarre. It's embarrassing. We still maintain the Electoral Commission of this country is more than a magician.
Okay. David, thank you for your time. I'm sure that tomorrow in court we'll get to see what the details that you've gathered so far are, but we do apologize for the poor quality of that video link via Skype to David Asante. He is with the Let My Vote Count Alliance. Now to the story that's been trending all through the weekend up until even this minute. Hashtags have been produced in the last hours, and it's about two gentlemen, really, two hip-hop musicians who are known for the musical content they churn out on a regular. But it's now become a war of words, really. Two songs, God MC and Kanta. But what is this all about? This is a quick report detailing what we have on this story, and then we can do some analysis to see if this is just a PR gimmick or there is more to this feud.
to draw so Wakanta. Someone are pushing a hamper. Terry Mr. Abomodiana get now no one dropping the number. See me, I'm far from a rapper. My name is Swaggy Dapper. Be better see me and then rapper what did you tip into my palm kaba.
In life there are some people who will never see anything good in you. Don't worry your brains over them. A lot to us, like the increasingly brash rapper needs someone to validate his awesomeness for him. The longer this beef goes on, the worse Sarkodie looks, or maybe not. You be the judge.
I saw it on Facebook this morning. Our Sarkodie's new track coming out, and it's like a GTP from Kente or something like Kaba or something like that. And for me, I would think maybe it will not be a beef, but people would think it's a beef. It's lyrics, right?
I think there's a possibility that there will be a certain time that one of them definitely will need another one's help. So it's good for them to like be together, love each other, and work together.
Actually, they are building their career. You know, with the music industry, whenever there is a problem, they try to recreate the problem. I like what is happening actually, but you know, they will use the problem to create their songs, and their fans will love it. They will go to programs and get their money from it. So me, I think it's one of the normal things since they don't involve.
See, I'll help you for free, but the free in the corner will be working pro bono. I gave you the highest retweet, gave you some bars on the street.
Right then, so that's a quick report on what this whole back and forth between Manifest and Sarkodie has been in the last few days. Joining us in the studio is Mark Okrekumante. He's a known face, isn't it? A man who's managed a lot of musicians and still continues to do that. In fact, he understands the industry much more than we do today. And he joins me in the studio. He's actually the head of Hits FM, driving and coordinating everything there. Joins me in the studio now. Mark, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Frank.
I had to pull you in just to do a quick analysis on this one. But when you look at these two songs that have been played, Kanta, first it started from Bossy, to God MC, now Kanta. What is this?
I think it is nothing new for those of us who have followed rap music from the days of the El Kujay, Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince to Tony Locke and all of that.
But it's new in Ghana, isn't it?
No, it's not. Exdo Maba, hey Maba, oh, that's my the Kuku era. Exdo had a big beef with Chicago.
They were a team and then they split.
Correct.
But this one are two musicians who some would say are on different trajectories here.
Yeah.
What's the link? What's the problem here?
Yeah, the thing is that sometimes I can say somewhere and say, oh, Francis, I know better than Francis. Somebody goes to tell one person, I will show them. Sometimes it's even your fans. We think that people are seeing Manifest more than you. We think people are seeing Sarkodie more than you. The things that trigger some of these things, we often don't know. And they themselves too will never open up, they will never tell you.
Okay, but Mark, you've handled artists up close and personal.
Yeah.
With this, listening to these songs, and I'm sure you have, what's the sense you get here? What are we looking at here? Is this two gentlemen who are angry with each other, they are going at their throats for a particular reason, or they're just doing this because they are in the business, they need to get all the attention they can get?
No, two young men, everyone trying to flaunt his strength as a rapper. So if you listen to Sarkodie, his passion for this very song is the highest I've ever heard. His passion is so high. He didn't just talk about Manifest. He spoke about the economy, politics, and all. Yeah, he merged both topics into one song. So he was so passionate when he was delivering. So for me, I wouldn't see it as a light. I think it's good for the industry. Somebody touches your emotions and you want to prove a point that I'm the best rapper you can find around. So I give you my best of poetic right. And it sounds good. Don't you like it?
Well, there are some who say that, you know, especially for the Kanta that we heard from Sarkodie, it has too many expletives in there, personal things that for young people who are listening to music and hearing this, it's not good to learn.
Where I do not, where I agree with what you're saying is the one that he said that because you don't have too much or you don't have too many clothes, they tend to go Afrocentric. Yeah. You know, the meaning is that if I wear African dress, it means that I don't have enough clothes. I think that is below belt. That is one. And then he said GTP, an artist who wears GTP, who uses GTP to soak cover. You know, I think that if you want to ridicule your fellow artists, you do not use somebody's hard-earned brand over time.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Mark, I've followed the kind of comments that people write on social media, especially on Twitter, and it's gone really viral. Yeah. Are we looking at two people who have brands that go beyond the shores of Ghana, and they are looking to get extra recognition, or what we saw in the case of Jay-Z and Nas in New York, who's the king of New York? Yeah. Is this about a certain crown or street recognition? What is this?
Lately, you know, people have come out that I'm even one of them. I said it on Joy FM that my best rapper is Manifest. And Francis Doku said, I know you mentioned Manifest, so it's no news. And the SAC fans will also say that Sarkodie is the best. So it is about who wears the crown.
But is this how to prove it?
I wouldn't mind putting up a show for the two of them.
To slag it out?
Show down who is the best rapper. Let them come and show us what they've got.
Because some also say that, look, and sorry, this is what I'm seeing on social media, so I just need to mention it. Some say that for Sarkodie, he appeals to the mass market. You listen to him once, you know what he's talking
Commercial
about.
Artist,
But for Manifest, you've got to listen to the song once, twice, thrice. It's laced with a lot of poetic, deep writing that on the face value, you may not appreciate it at first hand.
Sure.
So these are people with two different markets here.
Sure.
Why this? Why this, you know, trade of words?
It's because both of them are kings in their spaces. Commercial market, he's the king. Deep writing, or like you said, poetic, he is the king. And people fight over sovereignty. I'm a king here, but I want to prove to you that I am the overall king. You say, no, you can be a king wherever you are, but I am the overall king. At least in my space, they tell me, Sat Nation, I am the ultimate. And your people are also saying you are the ultimate. Sometimes, you know, the Lumba and Nana Champong issue or Lumba Kojentri, it's the people who started it on social media. It is not the artists themselves. And then it triggers.
So will this push both artists to be much, much better people in terms of their branding and the quality of the works that they bring us on a day?
The one who has to be very careful is Manifest. Because Sarkodie brand and his following, they don't mind to say nasty things to people. He's lived with it. It's normal. But the Manifest following, it's a type of society who wouldn't want to go into the gutters. And so if he's not careful and he's pushed into that space, he will lose his hardcore. And the SAC following will not come and follow him too. So he has to be very careful.
Okay, so it looks like this will not go away anytime soon. So you're saying what? In your view, Manifest should pull the plug on this one?
No, he shouldn't.
Save his image.
But he should mind his language. You know, sometimes somebody talks to you very dirty and you want to reply dirtier. And the more you get dirtier, the more, because of your brand positioning. Let me use Joy FM. Things that people say and go scot-free, if a Joy FM person says it, people are going to go deep into it and see why a person of Joy FM will speak like this and all of that. And it's because of the brand positioning of Joy FM. Same as Manifest. Because it is Manifest, people respect him in a particular class. And so if we see him speak like this, no, this shouldn't be a Manifest. Sarkodie has always been aggressive. It's about himself. You know, that is his positioning. And his following also believe that's Wabre, and he's where he is, and they die hard for him. So if the one who is seen as the cool one, especially when we know that Manifest comes from a home, the kind of home we all know he comes from, he's schooled in the West, his level of education and all of that, there's a perception that he should know better. So
this was needless.
He should be no. He can battle, but the tolerant level, there should be a cutoff point to his language. He cannot go dirty, but Sarkodie can and go scot-free.
Okay, all right. I'm sure there's a lot more we can't do with this, but because of time, we're limited. But we'll pause here. But quickly before we go, Mark, in your view, God MC Kanta, who won the battle?
I think that Sarkodie, like I said, we know him for what he does. We know him for his good rap. Sarkodie is a good rapper. You can never take it away from him, apart from the pace, his choice of words and all of that. But Manifest moved off his norm that we knew him. He's changed his direction this time, and he still did well. And so everybody says, and let's not forget, when it comes to deepness between Manifest and Sarkodie can never match Manifest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you start giving me an answer. Who won the battle?
With this song, depending on the
with
lens.
These two songs.
Depending on the lens you're wearing.
Yeah.
If it's about
with your lens.
With my lens.
Yes.
I've told you already that I'm a Manifest fan.
So it's Manifest.
So
okay. Then let's leave it there. But I'm sure the conversation will continue, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, this is something that we will not stop talking about. Of course, we should expect a certain response in the days to come. We'll pause here for sports. Gary will join us. Let's see what he also has to say, whether he's a Manifest or a Sarkodie fan. We'll be back after the break. And that'll be it for the show today here on The Pulse. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. That's where you find all the trending news and breaking stories. I'm Francis Abba, and thanks for your company. Let's Talk Entertainment is up next. Have a great evening.